I was super short growing up. I was the smallest guy in all of my classes in secondary school or high school, fucking Americans. And this made me super insecure about my height, who I was. I just had an awful shot with girls. Like, I never even had any relationships through that period because of how I felt about myself. But then flash forward 6 years and I was on a date and it was going pretty well. We'd come back to mine and we were sort of getting a bit more intimate and kissing together. And in between one of the kisses, she decided to say, "You're pretty short, you know." I was like, right, okay. Fortunately, I actually knew what to do in that I took what she was saying, smiled back at her, and just carried on kissing her. And we went on to have a great evening. Because in reality, what she was doing in her own way was checking. She was checking to see if I was insecure about my height. And fortunately, by that 6 years later, I wasn't. And part of that was because I learned this key fundamental thing that girls only care if you care. They will test and see where you're insecure because they need to know. They want to know if you're a confident man or not. And they'll just kind of knock on all these different parts of you like a MOT on a car just to test. Of like, oh, are you confident about this? And just knocks about testing all these different things. And over that 6 year period, I'd gone through what I would call a transformation, that I'd gone from someone that was basically insecure about every single element of himself to someone that at least had some solid grounding and confidence in his own ability. And this discovery of knowing that genuinely they only care if you do was massive for me, because I started getting into relationships with girls that were surprisingly tall. Like, to give you a frame of reference for this, I think when I was 16, I was 5'2", which is like real small. And I think now I'm taller than that. I'm like 5'8", 5'9", but I'm still considered quite short. But I went through the work to just find some level of confidence. Random cars just racing in the distance, but to find some confidence in who I actually was. So then when I went into interactions with girls, I just didn't really care that I was short. It's like, what are you going to do about it? You hit a certain age where you're just like, okay, well, this is the height I am, so I may as well deal with it, because that's all it's going to be. Unless you want to be one of those very strange people that are currently jetting off to Turkey to get that operation done that makes you taller. Have you seen it? It's the one where they kind of break your leg, your shin specifically, and then create a gap where it'll fill in and make you taller because it'll like heal up. Don't do that. That is severe insecurity, and it won't help you because you're still looking for this like outside thing to make you feel better, and it's simply not going to work. That I've not really found that height matters that much once it doesn't matter to you. The girls that I've dated, one of them was 6 foot. Like, she was real tall. It's probably not the best form, but I still just refer to her as tall girl. Like, she was great. And it always comes down to just like, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about your height? And maybe you're in a position where it's like, oh, that's all well and good, but I currently feel insecure. Well, naturally, that's not an easy situation to be in. And the way out of that is just finding other ways to make yourself confident, and it will just start to overshadow those areas where you are insecure, because we can't all be perfect. Figuring that out is massive. At the point where you start to realize that some of your flaws are actually quite good because they make you real. I always refer to Teflon Tom, the perfect man, who is usually the quintessential sort of nice guy type. Well, he isn't very attractive because he has no flaws. We connect to flaws. The perfect guy, eventually, we don't trust that person. We trust someone who has flaws. So it's not a good idea to just hide all of this. And I do get it, why there is this kind of obsession with height. Yeah, it's kind of correlated to dominance and masculinity. And I think worst of all, dating apps have severely increased our focus on easily definable metrics. So what I mean by this is 60% of Bumble users female Bumble users select for over 6 foot or over. Despite this, only 14% of the American male population is over 6 foot. So there's a huge disparity there. And the reason they do it, I kind of get. It is just to use an objective measure to filter out so many people, because that is the issue with dating apps for girls, that they just have so many different guys to choose from. They pick something just randomly arbitrary of height, which sort of correlates to something they might be interested in, to wipe out a load of them. They do this in a similar way with job interviews as well, that if they get a load of applications, they'll just wipe out anyone that doesn't have like a bachelor's degree, because it's just an easy objective way to knock them out. And that's not to say that people who don't have a bachelor's degree wouldn't be a good fit, or people that are under 6 foot wouldn't be a good fit. So I get the obsession, and I would love to tell younger me just this simple message, that she only cares if you care. And if you can find a way to build up your confidence, which fortunately I managed to. I think I adopted the fact that I was a really good runner, and I lent into that quite a bit. I'm a surprisingly good dancer. And I think I just had a way of trying to get a bit more comfortable with girls. And it's like, yeah, I'm not going to be 6 foot. If you're so destined on that, I'm just not the guy for you. But I have a bunch of other things that I offer that I think, at least for me, are superior. And coming to that conclusion is what it takes to grow out of this toxic mindset that if I'm not 6 foot, I'm not worthy and girls won't be interested. If you're looking to date girls in real life, this is so much better than using dating apps. Dating apps, you will get filtered out. As I said, they just do it to do it easily. But if you're dating in real life, you will be fine being shorter than 6 foot. I can guarantee it. And that is the message that I would have loved to give to my younger self, that if you can get over the mindset, she will only care as much as you care.